Alright, so we're back once again, and today we're going to be talking about the Thunder and whether or not it's OP. Because I've been seeing a lot of, well, both videos and even posts on Reddit saying that the Thunder is overpowered. So I thought I'd go discuss it a little bit because, well, who better to give their opinion than an average player in a battleship. So, with that being said, and hopefully this game gives a little bit more of a colour to the fact that, and maybe points out more so to the fact that this ship has a lot of weak points. Mostly anything that not with guns in the name on this ship is probably one of its biggest weakest points. Now, first of all, let's get into some of the strong points. Well, the one strong point on this ship is obviously the guns. The HE is basically Conquer HE, which is so goddamn good. But it also has the thing that the Thunder or the Conquer doesn't have. As we set the Kremlin on fire for about 8k, 9k, is the AP. Well, now 22k. I'm not really helping my point here. But the AP on this ship is absolutely ridiculous to tie in with the fact that the HE is ridiculous, which is again something you don't get on the Conqueror. Now this is going to be countered a little bit later on, but again, the AP is strong, the HE is good, but does it compensate for the fact that the ship is basically made of paper and the playstyle in and of itself is really far back as a result? I won't get into the fact that, you know, the Citadel is really high up and all that stuff, but the playstyle for the Conqueror, and the reason its guns are so good, is because you have to play it at that 20km range, or even 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 kilometer range. You don't really get many of the opportunities to push into that 13, 14 kilometer range just because of the fact that you melt so quickly. So that's why, and I think that's why a lot of players get the impression that, you know, you get these massive games because of the fact you're actually hitting HE, but generally you actually have to have pretty decent aim to actually get those big salvos, those, you know, 10, 12k, 16k salvos, generally. And if you close the range into like 13, 14 kilometers, you're probably going to be having a hard time to get a significant amount of damage done before you actually bleed out. And in this game, I actually closed the distance into those very kind of like 13, 14, 15, 16 kilometer ranges. And as you can already see, I'm losing like 20k HP. So, again, generally the playstyle of the Thunder is to stick. It's very much I want to say Yamato-esque, but at the same time it's obviously not the Yamato. It's a very long range sniping BB, and it's never meant to be played close range, where you could probably get away with something like the Kurfürst or the Kremlin pushing in closer range and still doing significant amount of damage. You don't really get that in the Thunder, and that's one of the main reasons why I don't think this ship is overpowered. It has a very easily identifiable and very common downside. Obviously, there is the raised citadel on this thing, which means it's very easily to. Oh my god! How did that Smolensk not die? That's a little bit upsetting. But Thunder is very easy citadelable, which means brawls are completely out of the question because you will die very quickly. And again, this ship is very easily set on fire, as you're going to see in a little bit. Which means getting, again, as I said, close range is very, very bad news. How does the 3 pens do 6? Anyways, now at this point in the game, playing this range, again, if you don't have good aim, you're not going to do much damage, and this is the way the Thunder is meant to be played, I think. So if you don't hit your shots at this range, then you're not going to be doing damage, and if you're not doing damage, the ship can't be considered OP. Now I think a better candidate for the consideration of whether or not a ship is OP is maybe the Kremlin, maybe? But again, that's maybe a topic for a different video, or if I played the Kremlin I'd probably discuss it, but I don't, so I can't actually comment on that. Now at this point, think of the situation, look on the minimap and look at what's happening. I make a dive towards B because generally it's the only real play I can make in order to try and save the game. Because for some reason, left hand flank is pushing into A where their entire team is, which obviously isn't going to end well. And this is going to perfectly demonstrate my point here. This Thunder decided to push into the 13 to 14 kilometer range. And, well, now he's realizing his mistake and he's turning out. But in turning out, he's going to expose the main weakness of the Thunder. Exactly. We get 6 pens, 1 citadel, and we probably should have killed him. But we don't. But it doesn't really matter at this point because we're going to burn him down anyways, because we got that HE, we got that versatility. But this is the main negative about playing the Thunder. And I think this is the downside to playing it, which makes it more balanced than probably something like a Kremlin or any ship like that, where there's no clearly identifiable downside. We do push in, we do get beat, but the Hargumu still is about, and the enemy does have CV, which means we're probably going to be perma-spot at this point. And the one thing you don't want to be in a Conqueror, or sorry, Thunder, because those ships are basically interchangeable, is spotted and pushed in. Because when you're pushed in, you're going to be set on fire, and when you're set on fire, this ship burns really, really, really quickly. Now, again, the Hargumu is spotting us, and at this point we do kill the Thunder, but it doesn't really mean all that much, because we're in this advanced position. At this point, I'm stuck. I'm effectively stuck. If I push through, I'm even further out of position. I'm just pushing into the enemy spawn, which is not what I want to do. But if I reverse, then I expose myself potentially to the Kremlin. Or even if I turn around, I expose myself to the left-hand flank, which is the Montana, the Yamato, the Hindenburg, all those bad boys, which is not ideal either. So at this point, when you commit, you're kind of done for. In other words, you're basically done for. Even though I have 78,000 HP, it's kind of limited what you're actually able to do. Now think of an alternative. Think if I was positioned, say, here right now. You have the Yamato pushing into me, you have the Montana pushing into me. Ignore the Citadel. You'd have all these ships pushing into you, and that's kind of think of the Thunder like a Minotaur with really good guns, with exceptional guns. You want those ships pushing into you. You want those ships coming onto you. Not sexually, metaphorically. You want them coming into you. And when they do, you can set them on fire. You can, if they decide they want to turn out, then you stop them with the AP with Expert Loader. Stuff like this is one of the Thunder's main strengths. But brawling like this and putting yourself in advanced positions like this is definitely not. And nowadays, with the games going the way they are, I think you really need ships that can actually push into these positions and take advantage of situations like this. Like, look right now. Luckily I have fire prevention. But even so, we're 3 fires, and again, you could probably argue that my use of damage con wasn't 100% effective, but again, you can't predict the future, so what can you do? And so, even though we do get the kill on the Montana, there's still a lot more potential left on the table here. And it basically exposes, I think, the main weakness of the Thunder, and why I think it's not OP, is the fact that, well, in games where you need to make the difference, the Thunder generally isn't going to be the ship to do that. Its squishiness balances out the OPness of its guns, and I suppose you could say the guns are, I'd say, borderline. But then when you look at the ship as a whole, it pulls back into line with the extremely weak hull. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this ramble of thoughts, and well, I'll see you all in the next one.